Well, ladies and gentlemen, week 16 is upon us, and we got some Saturday football, some good Saturday football for once. Shout out to you guys. Welcome to the channel. Much love to the Wrench Gang. Much love to the family, all the listeners, all the watchers. I do appreciate each and every one of you. So a lot to dive into tonight as far as with these teams. Obviously, the Texans, the Chiefs, and then we'll get into the Steelers and the Ravens. I know there's a lot of people right now that are definitely upset on, the Texans side due to Tank Dell's injury. Unfortunately, it looks like he had a dislocated kneecap, and hopefully he heals up. Hopefully he is okay. I definitely think, starting off, that's one of the major things that, without a doubt, turn any kind of good energy into bad energy for the Texans. On the flip side, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Chiefs are they are exactly who we think they are, right? They're the Super Bowl champions, and they found a way to do enough. They find a way to not only get out there on a week-by-week basis and win, but my biggest thing that I've noticed is their ability to control the clock, their ability to control everything as far as, clock management. Andy Reid's coaching has been very, very good, if not great, every week. And so when you get into these kind of situations and when you get into these kind of games, you're looking at, who has more possession of the ball. And if you go back and you look at a lot of these weeks, the Chiefs have the ball in their hand at the end of the game, every game, no matter if they're up, no matter if they're down, the ball is in their possession. And I feel like, obviously, we've had this saying before, if you have the ball in your hand, you're at the end of the game, you're most likely going to win, especially if it's a close one. Just so happens in this one, obviously, the Chiefs were already up, and they did have the ball back in their hand. But we'll get into the stats and everything like that. Shout out to you, Corey. Yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough. Hate to see it, for sure. What up, Megan? Good to see you. Good to see you. So, as far as the stats go, obviously, the score is 19-27. Texans are now 9-6. Kansas City Chiefs will go on to be 14-1. As far as the stats, Stroud was 23 of 39, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes, 28 of 41, 260 yards, 1 touchdown. On the rushing side, Mixon with 14 carries, 57 yards. And then Hunt with 11 carries, 55 yards, and 1 touchdown. On the receiving side of things, Tank Dell, who obviously was injured, 6 receptions, 98 yards with 1 touchdown. And then Xavier Worthy, the rookie, with 7 receptions, 65 yards, and 1 touchdown. So, we've seen definitely some good plays. Not too many explosive plays, but that's not Kansas City football, right? It's, hard running, grit. Mahomes playing his game, and, their defense basically doing most of the work. The defense held this team down to 19 points. If we go down here to the team stats, we'll see that there was 311 total yards allowed versus 375. Obviously, the Texans had the 2 turnovers versus Kansas City 0. Then 20 first downs to 25. And then obviously we get to the time possession, 26 minutes versus 33 52. So like I said, it goes back to Kansas City's ability to not only, manage the clock and keep possession of the ball and control the game, control the narrative, and play their best defense. And so, this week, you're not really going to hear too many people sit there and complain and whine about the refs because, sure, we may have seen a couple different calls that we didn't like, but I think at the end of the day, this game was as fair as it can get. And the big problem for me, and I don't want to take anything away from C.J. Stroud, because it's very important to understand that C.J. Stroud is a hell of a quarterback, and he's definitely a leader for this team. So we understand that Tank Dell got injured, and it was a very nasty injury. And so you could see, a lot of the players were visually upset. And so we understand that obviously the NFL is a brotherhood, and, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be emotional. But at the same time, can you find that medium, right? Can you find that medium to go out there and use that emotion to focus and, go get your team the victory. Because from what I seen, it really looked like CJ Stroud was not only visibly upset, but you could tell in his body language, you can tell in his decision making. And so that kind of changed the whole atmosphere as far as for this team when that happened. And, I get it. It's very tough to see. If a best friend of mine had got injured, I wouldn't know how to react to it. But I would think that in some kind of way and format that I would rally the troops in a sense so that we can, let this man know that, his efforts didn't go in vain, because he's the reason why they got that touchdown. He held on to that ball. And listen, at the end of the day, to hold on to a ball and go down in injury, that shows the heart and commitment that, you have for this game and that you're willing to lay your body out on the line for this. And so, like I said, it's okay to, be emotional. It's okay to feel a certain way when your best friend gets hurt or injured. But I do think that you can't let that affect your body language, and you've got to go out there and win that game. Other than that, I can't really put any real gripes on CJ Stroud. Played a hell of a game for what he had. Stephon Diggs being out, I think that definitely changed things as well. It's just tough. It's tough. And it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, we, like I said earlier in the post, I said, we really shouldn't be surprised that Kansas City won this game. It's just the difference of obviously them winning by more points than usual because it's normally 2 or 3. And so, I said, hey, we want to see, Kansas City come out and win a little bit more, with a little bit more dominance. And obviously they did that today. The defense stepped up. And another thing about Kansas City is this. There was an issue as far as, the high ankle sprain and, that was a big thing and people were talking about it. And I'm like, listen, we've seen this last year. Mahomes didn't stay out. He came back into the next game and won the game. And, I think that's kind of like that little, let's just throw this out here so we could throw, people off and, throw the defense off and, make them take it easy. So, Kansas City doing Kansas City things. They went 14-1. Prayers up for Tank Dell. Hopefully he definitely heals up fast and the Texans can, get things to normal. It's tough. I totally get it. But Kansas City took the win. That's the reality of it. 14-1. And this, I guess the stat is this is the first or second time Kansas City has been undefeated at home in a season. So there you go. Shout out to Kansas City fans holding it down. Vito says, so frustrating for the longest time this year. It just seems what could go wrong for the Bills does. Murphy's Law. As I'm sitting there watching this game, I'm like, it's not going to be too bad. It's going to be all right. But now when you see these kind of games and you see how Kansas City's playing, obviously the Bills already beat Kansas City. And I don't really think that it's going to be Kansas City that gives us the biggest problem in the postseason. This year, I don't think so. I think it's going to be the Ravens, because if the Bills end up going through the Ravens, from what I've seen tonight, and we'll get into that in a moment, that's going to be the biggest problem, right? We've seen kind of Derrick Henry slow down over the last few games, and a lot of people were wondering if he still had that edge to him, and the Steelers have one of the best run defenses in the league, and Derrick Henry ran his ass off tonight. So, as far as the Bills go, I definitely think the Ravens are going to be the biggest issue. Steelers, I'm not worried about the Steelers, to be honest. From what I've seen from Russell Wilson, I love the guy, respect him, right? He's great, he's talented, but I do feel like he's at a point in his career where he can only do so much, and the Steelers are relying more on their defense than obviously the offense. Now, that's not to discredit Russell Wilson, because he can have a good game, he can get in that bag, but I do think that he tried to do too much tonight, right? That run where he should have slid and then he caused a fumble, that was crazy. Like I said, that was the fastest I ever seen Russell Wilson run in my life. And then obviously throwing 2 picks, in critical moments. That's tough. That's tough. You obviously don't want that. And I think it was back to back. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was back to back picks. And in a critical moment, right? You've got the momentum change. Your team comes up with the pick, and you don't capitalize on that. Those are the kind of things that are going to put you in, in the situation that led to tonight. Which leads us over to the Ravens and Steelers. Steelers-Ravens 34-17 victory. And, this was a wild one as well because, Steelers-Ravens, right? Steelers are 10-5. Now Ravens are 10-5. But coming into this game, I think there was a lot of discussions and talks in regards to, like I said, Derrick Henry and what he was going to be able to do out in the field. And, Lamar Jackson. And so the conversation kind of has shifted. It's been Josh Allen MVP, Josh Allen MVP, Josh Allen MVP. Well, now over the past week, I want to say, it's really been, all right, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson MVP. And now it's Lamar Jackson MVP. So it's kind of shifting, and obviously depending on what Allen does tomorrow, I do think the conversation and the narrative for, who gets MVP could be very interesting. Now, I got, I'm going to just dive into that. Before we get into the Ravens and the Steelers, I'm going to dive into that. I really sat back and I thought about Josh Allen getting the MVP. And as good as it would be for him to get it, I don't think he should get it. What do you mean by that, Jay? I don't think he should get it. Not because he doesn't deserve it and not because he hasn't been talented enough on the field. I don't think he should get it because I think he needs that extra drive to get to the Super Bowl. I think that'll be the chip on his shoulder that basically brings out the best in him in the postseason. And so, yes, if he gets the MVP, good for him, great. But I think if he doesn't get it, that'll be the extra edge that he needs to show the league and put everyone on notice that he is elite and can potentially win a Super Bowl. I'm just saying, that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking if he doesn't get it, it's not a bad thing. If he does get it, fine, good, love him for it. But if he doesn't, I think he can use that and turn that into a motivational thing and get what really matters, which is lead Lombardi and a Super Bowl MVP. So let me get back to the chat before we get to the Ravens Steelers. Corey says CJ wasn't the same at the injury. No, he was not. And it was sad because, like I said, it was like a light switch. You seen the emotion on his face. He was visibly upset. He was crying. The team just didn't look the same. And it was kind of, we've seen injuries before, but I feel like this team has such a different level of chemistry and connection that it was a little bit more deep than I think what we expected. Shout out to you, bro. Darren says, what up, Jay? Merry Christmas to you and your family. Shout out to you, bro. Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. Merry Christmas to everybody, to you and your families, and I hope you guys have a great Christmas as well. Shout out to you, James. Says, well, KC is just that damn good and still the best team in the NFL. 14-1, you knock off the Texans, and you can't deny greatness. And the reality is this: if you hate the Chiefs, you love the Chiefs, I think you have to respect what they've been doing. And even if you've got your gripes about the refs and Taylor Swift and this, that, and the third and all that, I think at the end of the day, you do have to respect Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and what this team has been doing. So hats off to them, kudos to them. I'm hoping that the Bills put in the work, and the Bills see them in the AFC Championship and the best team wins. But without a doubt, I think we do have to appreciate. You're right. Even if you don't like it, you still got to appreciate a team that's 14-1 right now, put in the work when I think people were saying that it would probably fizzle out later on in the season. So moving on, Mark says, I'm counting on you guys to keep KC out of the Super Bowl this year. Mark, it's going to be some work. It's going to be some work, Mark. Robert says, I see it this way, and I didn't even have to watch that Chiefs game, and it's the same scenario. The Chiefs are still the team to beat when the playoffs start. 100%. I think, if you're going into the postseason and you're saying, oh, no, the Chiefs, they haven't really been, doing anything too crazy, even though they've been winning all the games. The Bills are the only team to give them a loss, right? The Bills are the only team to give the Chiefs the loss. We got to put that into perspective. Let me beat that drum a couple times. The Bills are the only team that gave the Chiefs a loss, right? So even if they go on to be undefeated for the rest of the weeks, heading into the playoffs, that resonates in their mind, right? And that gives the Bills the confidence that they need to move into the postseason. Like, okay, we already beat the Chiefs. We've done it multiple years, but can we finally beat this team who always beats us in the playoffs? And so, like I said, I think that's where the MVP comes into play. And I wouldn't be upset if Allen doesn't get it, because I think that'll be a driving and a motivating factor for him to potentially get to that point and shock the world. But we'll see. We'll see. Ray says, keep telling yourself that, Jay. Listen here, Ray. Listen here. We'll just have to wait and see, bro. We'll have to wait and see. That's all. It was a turnover on downs and a pick. Yeah. I think that the big problem coming into, like I said, with Russell Wilson is his ability to still have those little sparks, those little shining moments. And if it's going well, right, and if his defense is able to get, good stops, he looks phenomenal on the field, right, because he doesn't have as much pressure. He doesn't really have to play from behind. And, if it is, it's normally a touchdown, nothing more than that. And, but when you put Russell in a situation where he's, down 2 touchdowns or he's down a significant amount of points and he's got to come back, that's when you start seeing a lot of the edge that he's lost display itself over the years. And so I think, with in respect to Russell Wilson, the opportunities for him are mostly going to come from the defense. And, unfortunately, you got people like Joey Porter who's out. And, that kind of changes things. And we really didn't see much out of TJ Watt in regards to this game. And that's kind of unfortunate because you expect him to be a big force on the defense. And so, I think at the end of the day, the Ravens were just a better team. Derrick Henry is the king, right? We sat back and we said, well, he's kind of slowed down. And it's like, from what I've seen tonight against the Steelers defense, who's very strong against that run, Derrick Henry was picking him apart. So we get into this one. Russell Wilson, 22 of 33, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Lamar Jackson, 15 of 23, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. On the rushing side of things, Warren had 12 carries for 48 yards. Henry had 24 carries for 162 yards. Austin III, 4 receptions of 65 yards. And then Flowers with 5 receptions for 100 yards on the dot. The kid's fast. The kid's great. He's really coming into his own with the Ravens. I like Flowers. I like everything that he's doing on the field. I would say, work on obviously the ball security, but, that was weeks ago. And now he's definitely coming into his own and becoming greater within this team and within, the structure that he has with Lamar Jackson. So, Bateman back there. Andrews obviously doing this thing. So, we're seeing the Ravens that we're used to seeing just with another powerhouse on that offense in Derrick Henry. And so obviously, right, they punched their ticket to the playoffs. What are we expecting this time, right? Is it going to be a one and done again? I don't think so. I think it's going to be one of those situations where, they make a little more of a bigger push in the postseason because of Derrick Henry. Bringing him over was a huge play for the Ravens. He's definitely an X factor. And you're trying to compensate as far as with your defense, who you're going to use to stop Lamar and who's going to stop Derrick Henry. And so I said this at the beginning of the season when the Ravens picked up Henry. I said, it's going to create so many opportunities for this offense because you're going to be able to disguise your plays within running for Lamar and Henry. Fine, you don't want to give the ball to Henry, Lamar's going to run it, right? All right, you don't want Lamar to run it, well, we'll bring in Hill. And then they'll figure out different opportunities as far as going on the pass as well because you're so focused on the run. And that's where the Steelers had a lot of their issues at tonight. So let's get into this one. As far as the team stats, 315 total yards. Steelers had 2 turnovers. Baltimore had 418 yards, 1 turnover, 19 first downs, 25 first downs for the Ravens. And then time possession is 27-35 and then 32-25. So once again, right, the theme of the night has been time possession and controlling the clock, controlling the ball. If you keep the ball in your hand, then you'll win the game. That's been the narrative. That's been the theme. You can go back and look at as many games as you want to. The team that has had the ball in their hand the most has won the game. And so when you get into these kind of situations where, you know, you can't stop the run or, you know, the run is wearing down your defense and then obviously your offense is struggling, well, you get what happened tonight with the Steelers, 17-34. You know, we're still got the postseason to go, right? We still have got to figure out what, you know, the Steelers or Ravens are going to do. But I do think this is where things will start to change for both sides because at the end of the day, we know that Russell Wilson definitely has a lot of playoff experience in significant moments. So, you know, they'll make their adjustments and they'll make some changes as far as heading into the postseason. I think for the Ravens, though, the number one thing for the Ravens going into the postseason is Lamar Jackson getting out of his own head, letting the game come to him, playing his best football. And I think that's the way that the Ravens will be able to go deep into the postseason. Now, if he doesn't do that and, you know, he blocks up and he goes into it just like every other year they went to the postseason and went to the playoffs and won and done, well then what are we going to say then? What are all the MVPs for? What does it matter? And that's why I said what I said about Josh Allen, right? What does the MVP matter when you're trying to get a Super Bowl or you're trying to get to a Super Bowl and get a victory? So, you know, that's just my take on things tonight. As far as the Ravens go, I like what I've seen. They did a lot of good. Was really surprised about the pick from Lamar, but then, you know, it kind of didn't really matter. I mean, it is what it is. I think, you know, the pick that Russell threw was way more, you know, serious than what Lamar did because that was a defining moment in the game for the Steelers to try and come back and effectively probably cost them the game. And then obviously on the flip side, Texans, Chiefs, I think Chiefs playing Chiefs football, you know, at the end of the day, you got to put up 30 points to beat the Chiefs. You want it plain, point, and simple. You got to put up 30 points to beat the Chiefs. You don't put up 30 points, you're going to lose. It's just the reality of it. You don't need me to tell you that. You can go look at the numbers. Shout out to Vito, says Ravens look scary until Lamar takes the team on right exit during the playoffs. Listen, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say that Lamar's going to choke this playoff or this postseason because, like I said, I think not only did he get the bag, but he's got a team now that has good chemistry. He's got a solid running back who can put in a lot of work. And that's the biggest distraction. That's the biggest entity that I think the Ravens needed. You made it so he can sit back in that pocket and actually pass the ball now. And to me, I think I've seen some of the best passing out of Lamar Jackson that we've ever seen out of any of the seasons that he's played. And so now I'm starting to look at Lamar a little different. It's like, all right, he's passing a lot more. They're allowing Henry to get the run going, and obviously they want to switch it up a little bit, go with the read option. Then yeah, Lamar will run, pick up a first down, 7 yards, something like that when it's needed. You know, and so for the most part, I think what the Ravens have is working, and I think it's going to work in the postseason. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's going to be Lamar getting out of his own way. And if he's able to keep this going in the postseason, it's going to be a problem. And they very well could be the ones ending up in the championship and having a shot at the Super Bowl. We got a lot of football to go. We're still in December. We got to get to January, get through Christmas and New Year's and all that fun stuff. But that's where we are. That's where we are. Shout out to you, bass player. Yeah, man. Ravens looking strong, without a doubt. Like I said, I think that this is a different team from what we would normally see going into the playoffs, and I think we may be surprised for sure. On the flip side, there's people talking about Bo Nix and the Broncos and stuff, and I've seen some crazy posts, and I'm like, listen, I get it. People love Bo Nix right now, and I like the kid. I think he's great. But we have to be realistic when we're talking about, Super Bowl and stuff. People getting all hyped up and go, yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl, Bo Nix. Listen, I'm telling you right now, if the Broncos go to the Super Bowl, that would be absolutely phenomenal because some way, somehow, Sean Payton has figured out how to get this team on a defensive run, as well as Bo Nix putting up the amount of points needed to beat whoever they face when it comes to the playoffs. It would be something ridiculous, but if it happens, chef's kiss, because Sean Payton would be a mastermind then for sure. I don't think it's going to happen, but hey, shout out to you guys. I said it. The Ravens better hope Derrick Henry is their savior. Lamar better get out of his own way. Yeah. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around it for sure. I mean, even if we get into just the Ravens in general here, so they've got, let's see, they've got the Browns left. Yeah, they got the Browns left, and then we'll get into obviously the postseason. But just looking at the stats, right? We go into the stats here. Lamar is 275 of 404, 68.1% completion percentage, 3,580 yards. He's averaging 8.9. Long was 84, 34 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, what more do you want? 34 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, sacked 21 times. I mean, no, we're not really batting, at that. Derrick Henry, 254 carries, 1,474 yards. Long's 87, 13 touchdowns. And so, people are talking about Saquon Barkley being in the conversation for, MVP because of where he's at. And I'm looking at it like, all right, well, Derrick Henry put in some work too. So, looking at Flowers on the receiving side of things, 66 targets, 101 targets, 66 receptions, 916 yards. He's averaging 13.9. Bateman, 38 of 60, averaging 17.2. This is a scary team. This is a team that not only can crush you on the run, but if you overcommit to it, well, guess what? Somebody's down the field for 20 yards that's going to make a play. And so this is going to be one of the biggest problems as far as why the Bills and the Bills fans don't want to go and play the Ravens in the postseason. They'd rather play the Steelers because of what we've seen, tonight. But, it's just the reality of it. But if it happens that way and the Bills do have to play the Ravens, you are going to have your hands full. So then it comes to the point of Josh Allen figuring out a way to put up another 50 points to potentially get, the team a victory. So, there's a lot going on with this Ravens team. There's a lot of, unanswered questions as far as what to expect. But one thing we do know is that this is probably the best Ravens team we've seen in a long time. And you'd be a fool if you sleep on them going into the playoffs. For sure. Shout out to you, Lori. Says Vegas odds to see them in the playoffs. Let's see here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Shout out to you, Larry. Vegas odds. Bills versus Ravens playoffs. See if I can pull that up. Vegas Insider. Is this recent? Hold on. The spread is 3. Yeah, the spread is 3. The over-under will be 47.5. I don't know if I like that because that seems kind of weird, but yeah, the spread will be 3. Ravens favored. Over-under is 47.5. I mean, it's still early. It's way early, so these will drastically change, obviously, as the weeks go on. But that's what we be looking at. So, yeah. Base player says Casey has been getting lucky on several of those wins. So I ask you this then. If you take 3 games and let's say you win 2 and you lose 1, was it luck or skill? Shout out to you, Flynn Flynn. Says, please pardon my insensitivity, but Shroud is a drama king. I didn't see one tier. He has to understand that his team takes their cue from him. I touched on that earlier, Flynn Flynn. And, this is just like we're all in the living room. You could, you don't got to, you don't got to state, anything. You can say what you like. We're having an open conversation. I agree. You're the leader of the team, right? And your body language and how you handle your emotions is going to be magnified on the team as well. So no one's saying that you shouldn't be emotional. No one's saying that you shouldn't be there for your best friend. No one's saying that you shouldn't be there for your teammate. But this man not only scored a touchdown, but he held on to a rocket at the end of the end zone and got injured. And so I look at it this way. Yes, we understand that it was a significant injury and we should feel bad. But at the same time, you got to go out there and let this man know that he didn't take that hit and get injured in vain and, go get that win. And so when that situation happened, not only did it, change the whole trajectory of all the energy as far as with the Texans, but you can tell everything was just off. Nothing was working. From the offense and the defense. It's kind of like the whole team was just deflated. And that should never happen. That should never happen. I get it. And I'm not saying that, he needs to be insensitive or he needs to be numb to the situation. But I do feel there's got to be some level of sportsmanship that kind of overrides that to a degree. There's been plenty of players who, have gotten, injured and even worse. And, the game had to go on and people had to go do their job. And so I think for the Texans, at least, I think the situation was a lot more than what they may have been ready for. And, there's still obviously time. There's still time, to fix things and, work on things. But I think tonight was kind of a missed opportunity for sure. For sure. So shout out to you, Bob. Yeah, man. Chiefs get the 1 seed. I agree. Base player says all it takes is one play, one questionable penalty, and it changes the whole game. The games are coming down to the last minute on a lot of these games. So is it luck? Don't know. Well, like I said, so, if you're looking at it on a scale of, 3 games, they win 2-1. Is it skill or luck? Well, I say it's skill. They win 3 in a row. Depending on how they won, it could be luck, right? Now, if you have let's say, 6-7 game run in a row, is that luck then, right? Because then you got a question as far as, each scenario. Okay, well, they blocked a field goal, so that's great special teams, right? Or they came down and kicked their own field goal and won the game. Well, that's good offense that got them down the field to go and score. To me, I think there's been a lot of questionable things as far as, the refs and some of the calls at the end of the game. But the reality is they won. So I'm looking at it this way. Why didn't the other team put up enough points to beat them? You've held them to 19 points. You've held them to 20. Why couldn't you go out on that field and get 22 or 23 or 25 or 27? And so I think that's where the luck conversation runs out for me. And it turns into, well, the Chiefs are just playing better football. As crazy as it is and as ridiculous as it looks sometimes, the Chiefs are just playing better football, just like tonight, right? They put up 27 points, and they held the Texans to 19. So, you know, I wouldn't say it's luck. I would just say there's, you know, some things do fall into your lap, and, you know, the Chiefs have been working for it. I think that's the reality of it. So, it says, does Taylor Swift get a Super Bowl ring? I don't think so. I don't think. Maybe she made Kansas City in the NFL a whole lot of money. So I'm sure if the Chiefs do get there and get a Super Bowl ring again, they may have her own little version made for her for sure. So it's 21-0 Ohio State. Let's go. I will be streaming the college championships. You guys know how we do in January, so get ready for that. I'm excited for that. But yeah, whole lot of money. Yeah, she made, a whole lot of money. So I think if the Chiefs do get to the Super Bowl and win another Super Bowl, I think that'll be a huge thing. I also think that, it'll be a kind of like a significant situation for her as well, just because of what she's contributed to the team in the NFL and all the money she's brought in. I don't think she'll get the same kind of ring, but I think they'll have some kind of special thing for Taylor Swift. That's just what I'm guessing. So, Flynn says the Chiefs will complete the Patrick. I see what you did there. Listen. Once again, it's just like, the Ravens. I think if you sleep on the Chiefs, and, you go into the postseason expecting anything other than this Super Bowl team to be fighting their hardest to get back to another one, you will see the Chiefs going back to another Super Bowl. So I think at this point, we're weeks out from the playoffs. They got to bye, obviously, with the first seed. So we just got to see who's going to, who's got more heart, who's going to take it, and who's going to put in the work. And we're here for it. We'll be here for it. Y'all know how we do. Tomorrow I will be streaming Bills, Patriots. Yeah. I got to finish wrapping some gifts up tonight on a Saturday night. But it's always good talking to you guys. Always fun. But I'll see you tomorrow. So make sure you guys hit that like, that thumbs up, and of course subscribe. I appreciate you all, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Have yourself a great Saturday evening. Enjoy yourself. It's only 9:00. You still got time to get out there and party. Get yourself a drink. Responsibly, though. Responsibly. Don't drink and drive. All right, y'all. Have a good night.